Hi, Danville. Alan Chills here, Chief of Police for the town, and we are tenate and in service, which means we're here to make people's lives better, and we do that by safeguarding the lives, rights, and property of the people we serve. Thank you to everyone joining us live. This is actually going to be pretty cool. I'm going to give you a lot of updates. Actually, I'm going to give you 4 unique updates for arrests that were made for thieves that are targeting all of the stores that we shop at. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I'll go over the blotter. So we'll talk about the crime that's happened. We'll talk about the accidents. We'll talk about the arrests that were made. So just stay tuned for that. And we will we'll go. Sue, good to see you joining in. Sue actually has a question right off the bat, which really drives the point home. This is an interactive show, so if you have a question, we're both watching Facebook and YouTube, so go ahead and jump in and ask a question, and we'll get to it during the show. Sue asks if we're going to be doing ride-alongs with the Police Citizens Academy and a visit to the jail. So, Sue, we are doing a visit to the jail. The Sheriff's Office has opened that portion up, but we haven't opened up the ride-along portion yet. So they have not authorized citizen ride-alongs as of now. So we're going to check each academy we check. If that changes during this academy, because we usually do the ride-alongs at the end, we'll be sure to let you know, Sue. Thanks for checking in. And also, thanks, Sue, for joining us at our open house a couple weeks ago. That was really good. We had over 300 people show up, gave a lot of tours, and had a lot of good engagement. So, and Sue, you were one of those that joined us. So thank you. All right. As always, make sure you go to our links down in the description, download the Wildfire Preparedness Evacuation Guide, download the FEMA All Hazards Checklist. If you want information on either of those, you can check back to prior episodes where we took deep dives on those. Go to the PG&E website. This is where you can get information to help you be prepared should the power go out. And also make sure you sign up on the Contra Costa County Office's Sheriff Community Warning System. That is where you can get updates should something really bad happen. But we also still do Nixle. So Nixle is what you'll see us on quite a bit more frequently. All right, communitycrimemap.com. This is where you can set up alerts. You can get information. We actually upload several times a day there our calls for service, except for some of our sexual offenses and family offenses where the right of the victim overrides the public's need to know the information. All right, collisions. We had 2, and they were both on the 2nd. And when we go to the crime page, you'll see if we could have just not counted the 2nd, we actually would have had a pretty good week. On the 2nd, we had a non-injury hit and run, and this is at our high school, one of them, San Ramon Valley High School. And this is as cars were leaving the senior lot, one car bumped into the other, causing some damage, and that person left without making the report. And then on the 2nd, we had another non-injury collision. This one, they did exchange information, and it was in the Costco parking lot on Fostoria Way. So 2 collisions for the week. Not bad, Danville. All right, crime. It's actually a mirror image of last week. We had 6 thefts last week, 6 this week. No violent crimes, no burglaries. Those are all really good numbers. So kudos to all of you, Danville. I think you're really working that crime triangle well by not being targets and making sure the town's cleaned up in such a way that it's not a hospitable place for crime. On the 1st, we had a shoplifting arrest of 3 suspects for stealing from Bevmo, Lucky's, and Lunardi's. We talked about that one last week, but I'm going to mention it on the update later too. On the 1st, we also had a theft of property from a home on Carlisle Court. And then on the 1st, this was pretty interesting. And we've talked about this before, but it was a sleight of hand theft of gold from a man on Jonathan Ridge. Now, remember, we've talked about this in the past where there are people that will come up and they will approach you. And what they'll do is they'll try to put what looks like legitimate jewelry on you. They're pretty smooth about it too, right? But they're going to touch you, right? And that should be the big clue. If it's someone you don't know, if it's not grandma, grandpa, son, daughter, probably not hugging that person, right? If it's not someone you know, they shouldn't be touching you. They shouldn't be coming up and grabbing you. And what they do is as they're placing something on your hand or something else, they're taking something maybe from your neck or your other hand, and you're not even aware of it. So it was a very good in the aspect that they were skilled at what they do, which is to take things from your person without you really knowing about it. So it was a sleight of hand trick. Really beware of that. And a lot of times when we talk about fraud, we talk about them creating a sense of urgency, right? They want to pretend to be someone else. So if you get the phone call, it's, hey, I'm, you won the lottery, pay your taxes right away, or we're going to have to roll the prize to the next person, right? So they're pretending to be someone else, and they create a sense of urgency. These thefts are actually almost the opposite. they're not creating a sense of urgency. They're actually creating a sense of closeness. They're trying to create a sense of comfort, so comfortable that they can touch you, that you will let them actually touch you. So just be aware of that. It does happen. We've seen it in commercial settings. We've seen it in parking lots. We've seen it out in front of people's homes. So right at the end of the driveway, there isn't a place that's kind of off limits to this sort of crime. So please look out for that. On the 2nd, we had a theft of a credit card from a man while he was at the Bank of America on San Ramon Valley Boulevard. Looks like a pickpocket style theft is how it was reported. On the 3rd, we arrested 2 men for stealing from CVS on Camino Ramon. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then on the 4th, we had a couple of packages that were stolen from a home on Longview Circle. All right, so we're going to go over the arrests, but then we're going to kind of break it out like we do from time to time, several of the arrests that we had that are related to theft, because we've seen, if you follow the show, we've been talking about CVS and Bevmo and Lucky's and Lunardi's, where we're seeing people come in consistently and steal from these stores. And if we remember, let's talk about the crime triangle just real briefly. But in order for crime to happen, you have to have 3 things. You have to have a motivated offender. That's the person wanting to take your things, or if it's an assault, wanting to assault you. You have to have a location, right? So that could be the store. If it's a theft, it could be an unlit walkway if it's an assault of some sort. And then you have to have a target. That's the thing to be attacked. And in most cases in Danville, thankfully, it's property. And so in this case, it's going to be the merchandise that's at the store. If it's a person, it would actually be you. You would be the target. And so what we want to do is we want to work on those 3 things. Well, from the law enforcement side, we try to educate all of you, lock your stuff up. Don't leave stuff in plain sight in your car. If you see something, say something, because we know that the more police presence where crime is occurring, the less likely we're to see the crime. On the motivated offender side, that's where we come in as a police department. And the more assertive we can be in making arrests, filing charges while the person's still in custody, the more we can do that and send the message, hey, do not come to Danville and do this. We have the discretionary time to follow up on these cases. Because not all of these cases, a theft case is actually an incredibly hard case to solve. Of all of what we used to call Part 1 crimes, of all the major crimes that we track, thefts nationally, they're about 13% solve rate. Burglary at least gets, I think, up into the 20s. So it's very hard to solve, but your Danville police usually solves it at 1 to 2 times the national rate. But let's take a look at the arrest log. On the 30th, a lady was issued a citation after she was arrested for DUI and hit and run after she crashed into an electrical box on Laurel Road. On the 1st, 3 men were jailed from a theft at Lunardi's. They were linked to thefts, or Lucky's actually, and they were linked to thefts at Lunardi's and Bevmo. The DA has filed charges on those 3 men. On the 3rd, 2 men were jailed after a theft from CVS on Camino Tass, and the DA has filed charges on those. But let's break some of these down in a little more detail. On the 1st, this is that arrest, and we actually talked about it last week, but we did not yet file charges on them. But on the 1st, at about 7:45 p.m., and this is the arrest was made on San Ramon Valley Boulevard near Sycamore Valley Road. And this really, the kudos, I mean, our officers are always going to do a very professional job, but we can't do it alone. And so in this case, the Luckies quickly made the report and they provided a description of the vehicle. So we flooded the area with officers. They were able to locate and stop the vehicle on San Ramon Valley Boulevard near Podva. That's kind of south of our downtown area. And ultimately, through their investigation, they booked 3 men for organized retail theft, shoplifting, burglary, and conspiracy, and they were held on $80,000 bail until the DA filed charges on all 3, and they remained in custody. If you can look, this is some of their loot. Sadly enough, they're taking steaks, drumsticks, some shrimp, lots of stuff there, and a lot of wine and alcohol. And it's not uncommon for us to see wine and alcohol taken because those can easily be resold. Now, we had another arrest, and this one's on October 2nd. And this one's pretty interesting. Again, this is going to show the use of our partners in the community, but also this is a technology arrest along with the hard work of our officers. On October 2nd, in Orinda, this arrest was made. But to back it up, on the 29th of last month, there was a theft from Bevmo. One of our officers, after the theft was reported, she actually looked through all the cameras in the area that we have, the license plate cameras that will help us to identify vehicles. She looked at all those and she found one that she believed was connected to it. So let's take a look. Once she located that, they put an alert in our ALPR system. And on the second, we were alerted that that car had went into the area of Orinda. And if you're not familiar, Danville Police, right? We are a contract with the sheriff's office. So we're actually all sheriff employees, as are the officers of Orinda and Lafayette. So those are our partners. So we just called over to Orinda PD. They went over in the area and they actually found the car and the person associated with the car in the commission of another crime. And so they were able to arrest that person. Ultimately, they jailed him for grand theft and possession of a stolen vehicle and outstanding warrants. And we will be filing that case along with Orinda in the future. And then lastly, we've got this one, and this one was pretty good. Actually, I think we have two more. This was an arrest of thieves at CVS. And so this happened on October 3rd at 10:02. And this was, again, great partnership. This is CVS calling us and saying, hey, people are in here stealing right now. We sent several officers up there. What the report was is that they were loading merchandise into bags. And I'll show you pictures of one of the bags, or a couple of the bags here shortly. They were loading the merchandise in bags, looking like they were going to steal. The officers conducted an investigation, found the suspects. Ultimately, they booked both men for conspiracy and theft, and the DA filed charges on both. But let's take a look at what they were stealing. So if you look, one of these, like this upper right bag, that's just simply a trash bag. So, we always kind of joke and we say it's the FBI clue. That's how we joke about the FBI, but it's a clue so in your face that even the FBI could figure it out. We like to joke about our partner agencies only because we love them so much, but that is a clue, right? If someone is loading stuff into a trash bag, multiple items, I mean, I don't think you need 12 beard trimmers, right? They're loading that in there. Those CVS workers were like, hey, they are clearly not going to purchase that. Let's call the cops and get them out there. We were able to go out there, arrest them, recover all the property, and return it. And when we're talking about property, we're talking about thousands of dollars of property. So you can see on here what some of the property looks like. So this is items that they will take and resell. And so we make sure that we get that back and we get it back to the owners. But these are all people, and it's hard to link them to prior crimes. But if you're doing this type of crime, this is the type of crime you do. Like, I'm a police officer. I come to work every day and I do police work. Criminals that do theft in this way, this is typically what they do all the time. So again, if we're talking about that crime triangle, and your police department is here to try to stop crime, and we've got officers out here. So we have patrol officers, we have detectives that are all working together hard to identify these people, to respond out when you call. We think and we believe that we're going to have an impact on those crime numbers. All right, the last update, another CVS thief. This one, we had the arrest on October 8th. And this is where we link the person to several thefts from CVS stores on the 8th, the 12th, and on September 4th. Ultimately, one of our investigators worked really hard on this case. She was able to identify a suspect. She obtained an arrest warrant for the person. Again, we loaded that person's plate into our ALPR system. So when they came into town, our officers were able to locate the suspect, ultimately arrested him and jailed him. But this person was able to post bail, but jailed him for organized retail theft, burglary, and grand theft. So just a really good job. So I show all of these to you because I know a lot of times what you'll hear me say is, what can the community do to prevent crime? What can the community do to help us solve crime? But if you don't see the back end, if you don't see the hard work of our officers, of our detectives going out there, linking these crimes together, linking them to a suspect, recovering property, filing charges with the DA's office, it kind of is left hanging out there. But it's important for you to know that your officers are actually out there working very, very hard, incredibly hard, to send the message to not do that in Danville. We'd prefer people not to commit crimes anywhere. But we're here to serve you in Danville, and we want to make sure that we send a strong message that it's not just the 30 cops assigned to Danville, it's the 44,000 people that live in Danville. Everyone is pulling in the same direction to make sure that Danville is a safe community. So kudos to all the callers that called in and made timely reports. They didn't report it 2 and 3 days later. They reported it sometimes as it was happening or right after it happened. They gave us great descriptions of vehicles, great descriptions of people, and it really empowered your police department to actually go out there and do some really effective policing. So this is a huge kudos to the community on this one. All right, I'm checking the chat. I don't see any questions, and I actually have something to get to tonight. I have the Citizens Academy. It's going to be the first day of our Citizens Academy tonight. I actually can hear them upstairs kind of moving furniture around, so it should be pretty good. We've got 14 participants. That's about where we like to be. If you miss this Citizens Academy, it's something you want to do, know that we do 2 a year. We do one in the spring, one in the fall. The program is exactly the same. And if you wanted to sign up, but it's 7 weeks, 2 Saturdays, it can be pretty busy, right? We have busy schedules in our personal lives and our professional lives, and to set aside 7 Wednesdays and 2 Saturdays can be difficult. We understand that. And if you miss a class and you want to make it up at a future one, you can make it up at a future one. So don't let that hold you back from joining us. So make sure, if you haven't gone, it's a great class. If you love this content, if you love what it is your police department does to serve you, or if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity where you want to come in and join us and help fight crime, it's a great opportunity to do that. All right. So with that, I will say that we are 10:10, which means we're off duty, but we're always in service to you. Thank you and have a good night, Danville.